Brace yourselves, everyone, for it's still the same game of Blood Bowl you know and love, as the first weekly recap of the new year is coming to you right now. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you have enjoyed your holiday break from the constant stream of Blood Bowl violence that we know you crave for every week. For after extending the time to allow for players to do their matches, we are back with round 11 of the YouTuber League. It may have been the holidays, but that doesn't mean the teams have been holding back their punches and have put all their effort into bringing you the gift of maimed players and death on the pitch. However, our first match with Omega Eta Alpha going up against the Bright Wings was a match that was not recorded live, but the Undead Horde were able to secure a victory 1-0 while provide enough blood for the few fans who were present for the match.
Where is Juvenile anyway?
He's in the front like he should be.
Get back there, you Juvenile. You may be
He's
in
the
it.
same strength as a human.
But he does, but I don't trust the fact that you lot will probably kill the poor bugger. He's already got a bounty on his head as it is.
Now, moving on to a match worth tuning in for, we have Reichland All Elite going up against the Jailhouse Rockers. The Rockers are going into this match as the underdogs, and it shows early on as we get a very bloody match in the starting moments of the game.
Goodbye.
Goblins and humans both were taken off the pitch very quickly, but even with the shared violence from both teams, the Rockers were still on the losing end of the exchange, already down 4 players from the ensuing brawl. But the Skaven's trickery knows no bounds, and when the human team attempt to foul first degree off the pitch, the wrath of a fireball would make them pay for the dishonorable transgression.
Oh, I forgot about the wizard.
With the players down, but still breathing, the Rockers make their move, using this very moment to pick up the ball right from under Reichland's noses. However, failing to throw the ball away, the All Elite were able to recover it, if only very briefly, before the Rats fight tooth and claw to trying to reclaim the ball. The Rats were not interested in the mild technicality of being outnumbered to set them back, and to help seal that deal, they aimed to take Reichland's star thrower off the field.
What?
Holy crap, I killed him!
Okay.
How bad did I get? Is he dead?
He's dead.
Holy
Double six on
shit!
the apple.
Holy... Well, I could collect on that bounty because Brian Dungeon was one of my main targets.
With the Rats drooling over the deceased corpse of Brian Danielson, Reichland gets vengeance for their fallen brethren by claiming back the ball and scoring the first touchdown to signal the end of the first half.
I score, but at what price?
That's the question. What was the price you paid for that?
Damn.
Holy
Me.
crap!
I just want my team not to die. My team dies.
With how the Jailhouse Rockers were battered during the first half, they somehow, miraculously had the advantage against Reichland, with 9 players to the humans' 8. With the second half also being the Rockers' offensive drive, they take full advantage of their good fortune as they tear through the human linemen. This left the All Elite to fall back to their old tactics of attempting to outmaneuver their opponent, and when a failed pass leaves the ball exposed, it was looking like the strategy would soon pay off for Reichland. Things, however, backfire for the human team as First Degree, true to his namesake, begins to go on a murderous rampage, tearing apart any player who comes near the ball, protecting Warcrime as he reclaims it and proceeds to secure the touchdown to tie up the match 1-1.
Knockout. First degree? You've been behaving well today. I'll give you extra oatmeal for your. I'll give you extra bones and meat for your dinner. For that. Okay, Warcry, you better score.
With Reichland now down to 6 players, thanks to First Degree's rampage, and minutes left on the clock, an upset is still very much possible for the Underworld denizens. The dream looks all so close, as the long bomb pass to Lance Archer fails, giving the Rats one last chance to throw a goblin up the field for a 1-2 victory. With the tackle though, the fans will be left wanting, as the match concludes to a 1-1 tie, but the Jailhouse Rockers will still have the last laugh after killing the human team's star thrower. Quickly moving on, as our next match pitting Electro Flesh against How Not to Contain Lizards was not recorded live, but the Lizards still dominate the match with a 3-0 victory. However, the injuries were incredibly light for this game, which made for a lackluster match overall for the fans. Next up is another highly anticipated match, as we have the Mini Sons of Anarchy going up against the Leg Lickers. The Amazons may have won against the Cursed Suffering previously, but if there is any team that can instill fear into the hearts of our Lustrian ladies, it is the Dwarves. The Leg Lickers do manage to get the offensive drive, however, and it allows for short work on the line of scrimmage, as Berhindir easily gets a window to sprint through. The Sons of Anarchy were unable to keep pace, which prompted the ladies to stall out the clock for as long as they could, thinking it would protect their players from the brutal onslaught in the next kickoff. But the Dwarves were not going to wait that long, and forsaking playing a game of Blood Bowl, they decide to go on a murderous rampage instead, crippling every woman that dares stay standing. Even after successfully stalling out the first half, the damage was already done, as a deadline woman to end off the first half begs the question if the tactic was worth the effort. Thanks to reserves on the bench, the Amazons were only down to 9 players, but JT is ready to make his debut appearance in this match, as the opening kickoff puts the Dwarves in a phenomenal position starting off. However, unbeknownst to them, a wizard was lying in wait for just this moment, shattering the Dwarven cage as they make a rapid sack and grab. With nothing the Dwarves could do, this puts the Amazons in a dominating lead, as they scored their second touchdown of the match. With JT's short reign on the pitch, and the Leg Lickers now back to 11 players thanks to recoveries, the Dwarves, furious with their impending loss, immediately put those players back into the knockout box. Without their wizard, the Amazons had to fight on the Dwarves' terms, but thanks to their guard players, and withstanding the blows coming their way, they were able to sack the ball down once again. With a 0-3 sweep on the horizon for our ladies, a desperate play from Jax saw an end to the Blitzers' time on the field. Now down to 8 players, the Leg Lickers tried everything they could to secure one final touchdown, but the injuries continued to pile on as Rudder Embla is finally forced to retire, with her collarbone completely destroyed. Taking a page from the Amazons, the Dwarves do some passing plays of their own, which somehow pays off after Half-Sack saves the drive from a fumbled catch, to put the Dwarves finally on the board, and while it was still a 1-2 victory for the Leg Lickers, the damage caused to the ladies made this a match the fans will not forget. The murdering is about to continue, as next we have the Godlike Puns going up against the Cursed Suffering. And with how brutal the Norse have had it last round against the Sons of Anarchy, the fans were eager to see if the Dwarves truly are the bane of the North. Expectations change quickly when the Puns are first to receive first blood on the pitch, giving the team an incredibly strong start after following up by pinning down multiple players on the side of the field. This did not deter the Dwarves, as with the power of the Twin Bull Centaurs, they soaked the field further with blood, with retaliatory blows to even up the playing field. As the injuries continue to mount against the Puns, Clemens V happily strutted down the field, certain of the touchdown that was now within reach. But even with all the preparation the Curse Suffering had made, they could not have prepared for the wild card that was Berserker, a wandering journeyman without a team to call his own, as he breaks through the tackle zone and makes one desperate attempt to sack the ball. With his heroism inspiring the rest of the crumbling puns, they fight for every last yard, as they repeatedly manage to keep the hobgoblin down, before finally managing to secure the ball to deny the dwarves a touchdown by the end of the first half. With the miraculous denial from the godlike puns, they are still down to 7 players for the second half, and with the dwarves completely unhindered, the Norse will need some desperate help if they are to fight back. Thankfully, the fans answered their call as a timely intervention helps to even the odds. But even with the crowd, the sufferers would not be held back, as Jax dives in on Barely Odin on, eager to get some payback from the first half. With the stunned dwarves now recovering after the pitch invasion, the puns had little choice but to attempt a fast touchdown, as Mars Covid attempts a desperate breakthrough. Jax, the mighty bull centaur he is, and still rumored to be the mighty Lubu, merely runs across the entire field to slap down the ambitious lineman, and happily claims the ball for himself. Now faced with the deadliest of ball runners, the Norse once more had to be scrappy, as they swarmed around Jax, attempting to frantically pin down the centaur before he can run off with the ball. Their patience pays off, for Barely Odin on, still eager to settle the score, finds a window to blitz down the dwarf's mighty runner, as the dauntless Norsemen claims back their prize ball to secure the 1-0 victory, and finally putting an end to the pun's spiraling losing streak. Next up in our series of matches, we have the Bouncing Warriors going up against the Large Legends, as both of these teams are eager to put an end to their series of spiraling losses. Although it was not meant to be for the Kislev team once again, as the Snotlings and Ogres brought their best for the first half to easily secure a 0-2 lead, and crippling a majority of human players in the process. The Legends were not able to extend their lead any further in the second half, and so made note to show their raw brutish might, as nearly none of the Kislev team was left standing by the end of the match.
So out of interest, what... I'm guessing because you are fragile, you're going with things that are fragile.
A little bit. A little bit fragile.
Completely fair.
That is the pro Elch for you. You're pretty fragile.
So who's... I'm guessing Gasket is the newbie.
Yes, Gasket is brand spanking new.
Yeah. He won't last long.
And finally, for our last match of the week, we have the Fragile Bloodmarks going up against the Outworn Ideas, as elves once more attempt to survive the onslaught that is multiple towering big guys. An early injury on the Bloodmarks, with no reserve players to fill the gap, gives the Khemri powerful momentum early on, even daring to aggressively move the ball up the field, in hopes of scoring an early touchdown. Although elves being elves, any gap left open is one to exploit, and thanks to the leaping potential of Sploosh, we saw an incredibly early sack of the ball, despite Outworn's strong position.
Can't pick up the ball. Hey, enough of this bouncing shenanigans, okay? I knew there's gonna be 6 eventually.
Yeah,
That was so dumb.
It's even funnier when you consider most of them were 5s.
The ensuing brawl to come was cut incredibly short, for the Khemri's theme of successfully handling the ball continues, thanks to the ball conveniently bouncing into Miasma's hands. The Blitzer made a breakaway through the line, somehow evading the blows from Face as he rushes in for the early CR1 score early in the half.
Alright,
Let's see. No reroll.
I'm
I
aware of
see
that.
a 1. 2 successful. Oh! That sucked.
Good job, Miasma. You did good.
Unfazed by the early touchdown, the Bloodmarks effortlessly equalized the score, thanks to steady state theory failing to halt the Elves' advance, creating enough of an opening for the Elves to stall out the clock on the first half before tying up the game. Down to 8 players for the second half, the fragile Bloodmarks tried desperately to avoid a drawn-out drive with the Khemri, for fear of losing momentum after receiving the ball. With Paper helping to bolster the line of scrimmage with his added strength, the Elves charge on through the middle of the Khemri's line. Wasting no time on their advantage, they move the ball behind the Undead and are forced to score before the injuries continue to pile on for the Elven team. The Bloodmarks' gambit of scoring early pays off as they manage to retain their numbers for the final kickoff. Thanks to riding on the pitch and an Elven screen to slow the Outworn's advance, they are able to secure their victory at 2-1. That unfortunately puts an end to the weekly recap, with the last one of our matches for the week never happening, as the Fluffy Green were too busy celebrating the holidays by spreading the Wog all across the Badlands, while the Nuclear Winters were likely too busy indulging on their sacrifices in Nagaroth to take part in the bloodbath to come. The schedules did not line up, but with this disappointment behind us now, we move on to the excitement of our top 4 teams, as the fragile Bloodmarks are now contesting for the top 3 spot, with Reikland All Elite and the Leglickers still battling out for first. Despite the Orcs and Dark Elves not showing for their match, they are still nipping at the heels of these teams, waiting for the slightest moment of weakness before ripping them from their pedestals as we move on to round 12 of the season, starting off once again with Omega Eta Alpha facing off against the Bouncing Warriors. Kislev is just a walking corpse at this point, but even without a coach to guide them, they are still on the pitch, to at least give the fans the bloodbath they are rooting for. Match 2 is the Godlike Puns versus the Fragile Bloodmarks. After surviving the matches that was the Dwarven teams, the Norse are raring to pick on someone more fragile than them finally, and with the Norse's coach Malt experienced with leading Elven teams, the Bloodmarks are likely going to have a difficult time securing victory if they try the same tactics they had up to this point. Match 3 is the Mini Sons of Anarchy versus the Outworn Ideas. Bashy Team versus Bashy Team, which is a match all the fans want to see, and with the extra strength of Lumeriferous Ether, JT will finally have a rival to challenge his Death Roller on the pitch. This will be a match to watch. Match 4 is Nuclear Winters going up against the Large Legends, and there will certainly be plenty of blood for this match. It is just impossible to know if it will be the Snotlings dying on the pitch or the Elves once Ketchup gets his hands on them. Most likely it will be both, but the Elves will have a strong advantage here once the Snotlings start falling. Match 5 is Electro Flesh going up against the Cursed Suffering. If the Dwarves were facing off against the Grey's Cage, they would have a difficult fight ahead of them. But with Electro Flesh, all they need to do is keep the werewolves from straying through the lines, and the Sufferers can roll all over the fletchling Necromantic team. Match 6 pits the top 2 teams against one another as Reikland All Elite go up against the Leglickers. This is without doubt going to be a must-watch match, as this week one of these teams will fall, and the fans will not accept a tie unless blood is spilled. Who will be able to use their versatility to their fullest? Only time will tell. Match 7 is the Bright Wings versus Fluffy Green. The Orcs, finally back from their holiday Wog festivities, are ready to spill blood once again. So let us have a moment of silence for the High Elven volunteers. Finally, Match 8 is the Jailhouse Rockers going up against How Not to Contain Lizards. The Rockers continue to have their work cut out for them as slowly but surely their sneaky tactics will be denied, and they will pay a heavy price when it does. The fans are eagerly waiting for when that happens, but any source the Underworld team can remove early, especially with First Degree and his rending claws, still gives the Rats a chance for victory before Nuffle gives them the beatdown. Preparations are at work for the playoffs to come, and with the teams now all but securing their spots into the final rounds, the teams will now start aiming to take out their rivals through whatever means necessary. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a good night.